This is the second part of our cross-stitch tutorial. In this part, we will learn how to rapidly assemble our entire chart into one piece to work with. If you haven't yet, I strongly recommend watching part 1 first. You should also be familiar with setting up and joining charts. Find tutorials for these skills on knitCompanion.com. Here in knitCompanion, we will open our project for colorful balloons. We can see the complete chart that we marked up in part 1. What we will do now is create that complete chart using the knitCompanion setup tools. In the PDF, we see that the chart is presented in one-page sections. This chart requires 24 pages total. Here, we see there is a map for how to put the individual pages together to form a complete chart. We're going to follow a methodology in KC that will let us rapidly assemble all 24 pages together by first assembling each column as a template and then assembling the columns left to right into the complete chart. This method is much faster and easier and less error-prone than adding each page individually. To begin, tap Setup. We want to start by making our piece, which will be the first, most left column. To do this, tap the blue plus and select Chart Piece. Page 3 is first, so pick that and tap Next. Crop the chart and enter the row and stitch count. Page 3 has 112 rows and 80 stitches. Check that your edges are correct with grid check. I like to use the heavy lines to make sure my grid line is right in the middle. Adjust any edges as needed. Now we want to add the next page for this column, which is page 9. Tap Join, pick Add Piece, and pick page 9. Crop the chart, but don't keep the overlap stitches. You aren't going to need them since we're assembling the complete chart. Because we didn't keep those stitches, this chart has 109 rows and 80 stitches. Use grid check to ensure a good crop. Adjust your edges as needed. When things are correct, tap Align and drag this new part below the first because we've chosen to assemble our column top down. Of course, you can do top up, bottom up if you prefer. Make sure your part is aligned directly below the first and tap Save. The next page for this column is 15. So we will repeat the process. Tap Join, pick Add Piece, and pick page 15. Crop the chart as before. This chart has 109 rows and 80 stitches. Tap Grid Check and ensure things are lined up. Tap Align and drag this new part below the existing. Make sure it is directly below and not offset left or right. And tap Save. To finish this first column, we need to add the last page, which is 21. Tap Join, pick Add Piece, and pick page 21. Crop the chart. This chart has 69 rows and 80 stitches. Use grid check and when things are right, tap Align. Drag this final part to the bottom and tap Save. We have now assembled our first column and started our piece. At this point, we want to start building additional columns, but we want to be independent of this piece and we want the columns to be independent of each other. That way we can build each additional column on its own without having to worry about the rest of the chart. And we're going to do this with templates. So making a template is just like making a piece. Tap the blue plus, and this time pick Chart Template. The first page for our second column is page 4. Tap Next and crop the chart. Remember, we don't want to keep those overlap stitches. This chart has 112 rows and 77 stitches. Use grid check to ensure the edges are good. Before we add more to this template, I want to change its name so it's easy to find later. So I'll tap in the name field and I'll name it T2 and tap Save. Now we need to build this template as a column the same way we did the first column. To do that, tap Join, pick page 10, and crop. This part has 109 rows and 77 stitches. Check your grid. Tap Align and drag your new part directly below the first. Tap Save. We will repeat this process to add page 16. And the final part is on page 22. Now that we have completed our second column, we can see that I've already built the templates for columns 3 through 6. In fact, I like to keep things organized, so I'll drag my T2 to the beginning of this list so that they're in order when we go to use them from left to right. Now that we have all our columns, we need to assemble them. To do this, tap Pieces at the top left. Select your starter piece, which contains that first column already. Tap Join and pick Add Template. Pick T2. Since we are building left to right, it is already aligned in the correct spot, so tap Save. To add the next column, tap Join and then Add Template. Pick T3 and save. Tap Join, then Add Template, and pick T4 and save. Repeat for column 5. And for the last column, tap Join, Add Template, and column 6. Now we have a fully assembled chart from all 24 pages. Just like we were able to reorganize our templates, we can also reorganize our pieces. So I'll drag this to be next to that first full chart that we worked with. Tap Edit at the top to start adding your markers as you stitch the way we were working with it in part 1. Happy cross stitch!